Hi, everybody. So, on my topic today that I'm going to be talking about for AWS Community Day is AWS Educate. So, a little bit about me. I am the Computer Science Program Manager at Hawken College, which is a small community college about an hour south of Columbus. We're located in Athens County. I'm an AWS Educate Cloud Ambassador. I was part of the inaugural group that whenever the program began in 2019. And now that we're in the second year, they've asked me to be a council member for part of the program, which was a huge honor. And I'm very happy to continue to grow and what I can offer to AWS Educate. I'm an AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, which is the first certification within AWS. I'm currently working on my next certifications as a solutions architect. I had to look. As a solutions architect, I recently completed a 3-day training with AWS. So now I'm just in the process of studying in preparation for the next exam. So this is going to go into a little bit of a backstory of why education is important to me. Education, I realized probably about my mid-20s how important education was. I dropped out of college the first time I went in, whenever I went as a traditional student, right after high school. I had my son when I was 19, and it was just like too hard. I wasn't really interested in college, wasn't really interested, nothing really kind of piqued my interest. And I think actually, ironically enough, my first computer science course that I took in college, because I didn't really have any computer science courses in high school, short of typing and whatnot. My first computer science courses in college, I actually dropped out. I said, this stuff's too hard. I'm not doing it. I was like, no. So I quit, like I said, and I dropped out, and it was hard. It was hard for a few years because I had a few college credits, but no degree. And this was in a different time. This was back in early 2000s. And, so it's a different day and age than what it is right now. But what I realized when I was a single mom is how vital education was. Because with education, whether it's traditional or non-traditional means, that you can change the situation that you're in. Whether it's education on a specific skill set that will help you grow in your career set, or education on soft skills, power skills, so to speak, on how to grow in a work environment and how to work well with others. There's a lot of value in both the tech skills that you learn in college and also the soft skills that you work. And what education did for me whenever I went and completed my associate's degree, I was 28 when I completed my associate's degree. And then whenever I finished my bachelor's and my master's, what education did for me was open doors that I didn't have whenever I was, trying to make ends meet with just a few college credits. And as those doors opened, it provided opportunities for myself and my son when I was a single mom. And realizing that is what kind of propels me and motivates me to kind of continue talking about AWS Educate. Having those opportunities and seeing the value of education, I I understand things that I didn't understand when I was 18, 19 years old. And I think that's probably going to be true for most of us, if not all of us. We didn't understand we didn't know what we didn't know when we were 18, 19 years old. But as we grow, we learn more, which, hopefully we all learn more. And education is becoming more and more a cornerstone for me in regards to what I can do to help other 18, 19-year-olds. I was in a situation whenever I was a single mom where I was not receiving any kind of child support, from his father. I remember being so mad at the system. And my original thought, I was going to go to school, become an attorney, so I can work with single moms who were trying to get, money for the child support to help raise their kids. I was going to do pro bono, to help all these single parents that were in the situation that I was in. And what had happened was somehow my career path went into the education realm. And I was still originally still thinking I was going to go to being a lawyer because I still want to do this pro bono stuff. But then I realized if I go with the attorney route, I'm helping single parents, single moms get out of a situation maybe once they've already reached the point of despair. Once, things are hard, barely struggling to make ends meet. Their life may not be what they want for themselves or their child. And maybe, might be able to help them get money from the person that they were supposed to receive money from, and maybe not. My mom worked for a child support enforcement agency for many years. She retired from there, and I've heard enough stories between the payers and the payees who abuse the system. It is what it is. But whenever I can help somebody become more self-sufficient through education, by providing an education, helping them understanding the opportunities, is like where they can stand on their own 2 feet. They're not relying upon somebody else to continue to send them money or a check or whatever. Education is where the things start, the foundation starts. And once you find that education and continue to work on yourself, and again, this can lead to this can be talking about soft skills, the tech skills, but all of those skills, as you're gaining those skills, is also going to lead to self-confidence. It's going to lead to self-confidence and self-awareness and motivation. And you're going to be an inspiration for anybody who sees you, specifically for your child. I know there's been times, my son is 20 now, and there's been times that he'll make a comment every so often about how hard he knows I worked to be where I am. And that is a great feeling as a parent, that your child sees how hard you worked. So, and none of that would have been possible without education. So that's why education is such a cornerstone in my personal beliefs, and why I love AWS Educate. So we're going to talk about a overview of AWS Educate. We're going to talk about motivation. We're going to talk about AWS Educate onboarding process. We're going to talk about the access to the AWS console content. We're going to talk about using AWS Educate in the classroom, and we're going to talk about support. So the overview of AWS Educate. So it's an online platform where students and teachers can learn more about the AWS cloud technology. So we're at this conference for AWS Community Day. So I'm not going to go into details what AWS is, because the assumption is you guys already know. But as I'm sure you're aware, AWS has maybe 180 different services available, whether you're talking AR, VR, database, computing, IoT, gaming, robotics, whatever you have an interest in. It's all available. I think 180 because they keep adding it all the time, and it's a lot. It's an interface where you can learn about cloud technology and all the subject matters and beyond that I just mentioned. There's a job board, which is awesome, so students can actually see what the jobs are. Because if they're being introduced to this technology for the first time, they're not going to be familiar with the verbiage that's being used. It's going to be like, I don't know what that is. And the job board is going to be able to give them some direction and say, this is what this is, and this is the opportunities with it. There's incentives. They have badges. One of the things that I find interesting is people have extrinsic and intrinsic motivators. Everybody has them. Extrinsic is like, things that are outside, affecting your motivation to continue to learn and grow, or whatever it is that you're doing. It could be money, it could be pay, it could be your paycheck, it could be benefits, it could be, the accolades, it could be whatever it is. Then intrinsic is more like, why you're doing it. It's more, the reason you're doing it is more internally motivated. You just like that feeling that you get. You're happy with yourself. So everybody has their extrinsic and intrinsic motivators. And AWS Educate is a great way to address both of those. Training and professional development, again, for student and teacher alike. This is a great platform that will provide training and professional development. for everybody who has access. As we all know, technology changes quite rapidly. It's difficult to stay on top of the game, whether you're a teacher or a student. Textbooks get quickly dated, but this is a platform that will provide some insight to current technology trends that students can actually use in the real world. So who can use AWS Educate? College instructors, high school instructors, college students, and high school students. There are other opportunities, but these are the ones I'm going to be focused on for this presentation. So I mentioned before, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation for students. Sometimes you just need to give the students a reason to do something. If they are more intrinsic in nature for their motivation, and you offer them some sort of awards or whatever, they might, they just won't care because that's not what their value is. And the opposite of that is true. If they're more extrinsically motivated, and you're just saying about how great it is to learn, you're going to learn some cool stuff and think about what you can do with it later on, but you're not actually giving them a reward right now, they're going to be like, eh. Case in point, I used to work for a medical college, and I'm probably more intrinsic. I mean, I like the pay and the benefits and stuff, but I'm probably more intrinsically motivated than extrinsic. But when I used to work for a medical college, I was telling one of my medical students, my third or fourth year medical students, about a cool opportunity for them to learn a new skill. And his first thing that he said to me, am I paid for it? I'm like, no. It's a volunteer thing, but you're paid in your education and the things that you're learning. And he's like, no. I'm like, so you got to find what works for both students, because you're going to have intrinsic and extrinsic motivated students, and not one is not better than the other. That's just their styles and that's their personalities and what motivates them. And we need to make sure that we appeal to both. So here's a little diagram that I found I thought was kind of interesting, that kind of explained intrinsic and versus intrinsic motivation, why we do what we do. So you can see the intrinsic motivation, they do things for the enjoyment of it, the purpose, the growth, and the curiosity and such. Extrinsic, they want to do it for the promotions, the pay raises, the benefits, the bonuses, the benefits, and such. Those are the things that, that motivate them to continue to learn and grow and succeed in whatever that is that they're trying to do. So these are extrinsic motivators for the students who need the extrinsic qualifiers for them. So on the left-hand side, you see Cloud Inventor, Cloud Builder, Cloud Explorer. And on the right-hand side, you'll see some of the digital badges that are offered for the college level. Some of them overlap. Some of them on the left side will also be available for college, and some on the right will also be available for the high school. But that's pretty much the segmentation of how it's set up. So, for those who need the extrinsic motivation, this is an excellent opportunity for them to earn little badges that will help them continue to be motivated. I had one student who, when she started working on badges, that she's like, got to catch them all. Want to get them all, because it just starts with the appeal of gathering badges, and you can actually see on your digital board that how it's accumulating, and it helps propel. And I would consider more of an intrinsic motivated student, but even she liked these badges, and I do too. So you got to find, this is a great way to appeal to the extrinsically motivated students. And if you're intrinsically motivated, there's not really anything I can show you, because they're already seeing, like, they're already excited. Like, they already see the enjoyment, the purpose, the growth, and all of that stuff. And they're already finding the fun. That's the biggest thing, it's fun. Okay. Why AWS Educate? So there's plenty of platforms and resources out there. And, I want to talk about why I selected AWS Educate and AWS to be the thing I focus on. So AWS Educate teaches tomorrow's skills today. I said earlier, technology is constantly changing. We don't necessarily know what's going to be in tomorrow's technology world. And if we don't know, we definitely can't teach it. And I also stated earlier, textbooks get dated quickly. Curriculum is dated quickly. It's hard to stay on top of it with everything else that we got to do as educators. So AWS Educate is a great platform where you can kind of go in and trust the content that's in there, and it's current and it's relevant. It's going to help you prepare your students for their tomorrows. You get access to AWS technology. When you access a classroom, you will actually, once you go through that portal, you will actually be accessing the AWS console, the actual AWS console, not some sort of imitation of it. This is the actual AWS console. So it's nice to have that experience of navigating it, because it can be, I'll admit, it can be overwhelming when you're first getting started with all these little options. But you're able to go ahead and get started and get acclimated and grow in your confidence and your skill set. You get free credits and access to the AWS console. To have an AWS account, it does require a credit card, but even though there's a free tier, but with AWS Educate, no credit card is required. And for many students, college and high school, that can be a deterrent from accessing it, from understanding what AWS is and the opportunities and the things that it does, just because of that need for credit card. Educational opportunities beyond the classroom. Some of the things that students can learn are, let me move this one. Let's see, what is it? Shoot, sorry. Let me get situated. Okay, is AWS Deep Racer. Deep Racer is one of the things that AWS has created to help promote artificial intelligence, reinforcement learning, and machine learning. It's an RC race, virtual race or in-person race, where you're using machine learning and reinforcement learning and artificial intelligence to try to improve your speed as it goes around and around the track. So even if your classroom is not structured, so is incorporating things like machine learning, reinforcement learning, or AI into the classroom, your students have access to all of this beyond the classroom. So you can let them know, it's like, hey, this is what this is. If you have an interest in it, and even though we can't, don't have the time to devote to it in the classroom, you have the opportunity to go ahead and play with it, learn it, explore it, and see if that's your thing. And if that's your thing, then that might be a career opportunity for you. Same thing with the other ones like Sumerian, which is AR, VR. Alexa, if you're over 18, because there is an age requirement on Alexa, and some other ones. The students get the opportunity to get outside of what they're learning in the classroom to explore different opportunities. And whenever they come across an opportunity or subject matter that really sparks their interest, then it's much easier and it's much more fun for them to learn and to explore and be curious. Okay, let's see, get back in here. So career pathways and digital badges. We talked about digital badges, and there's also career pathways, which isn't necessarily the focus of this presentation, but that is available as well. A job board is also available to help students. And then there's also ambassadors such as myself who are available for anybody who's new to the AWS Educate platform, whether you're college or high school, and you're just trying to figure it out, how to utilize it, how to use the resources with so many resources. We're able to assist. So the onboarding process. So the ways that you can join as a teacher, you apply on the AWS Educate platform. The ways that you can have your students join is they can go to the AWS Educate portal themselves, or you can do some uploads. It's a CSV file, and you just upload it with basically, I think all it needs is their email address, and they have access. Well, they receive an email and they'll have access. LTI integration into the LMS. So there's many LMSs where it supports the integrations, which can make this whole process a lot easier. So another nice thing about AWS Educate that there's templates. So you're not sure if you're in a situation where you're not sure what to do because, again, you're brand new to it, and you're trying to figure out in all these terms and services, like where it says EC2, S3, RDS, you're not familiar with it, RTD2, you're not familiar. It's all gibberish, and that's fine. But what you're going to be able to do is look at the descriptions of it and see, it's like, okay, this is what I'm wanting. And then you can select those templates. And what the Educate platform does is it creates that classroom for you, focusing on whatever the particular services and technologies you're wanting to focus on for the classroom. So there's a couple of them. There's AWS Cloud Basics, Big Data, machine learning and AI, building scalable websites, serverless computing, RoboMaker. And, one that they recently introduced was starter account template. Say you're not sure what it is that you're wanting to do, you just know you're wanting to play with it, and you'll figure it out as you go along. That's been my personal style. You have a starter account template. You don't have to choose from those previous templates because you can only choose 3 in one time. For one classroom, but you can make multiple classrooms. If you're just wanting to say, okay, I want this all because I don't know which ones I want, you can do this starter account template. So that's a great way to kind of get started. So now we're going to go through a demo. Okay, so let's see. Make sure I was right here. So this is my platform for AWS Educate. This may look a little bit different. If you already have an AWS Educate account, this may look different than what you're used to just because I'm a cloud ambassador. If you don't have an AWS Educate account and you're going to sign up for one after this presentation, yours is going to look different because, again, I'm a cloud ambassador. So let's look at here. Let's look at the content. So you can see that there's content that's already pre-built into this content repository. And this is a nice whenever you're trying to teach a subject matter that maybe you're not that familiar with, or you want to utilize resources that you're free. Budgets are always a concern. And if you don't have access to resources because it costs a little bit, this is a free resource that you can have. A variety of different reasons. Let's see. So you can filter by the content type, the course, the module, if it's cloud degree approved, and the skill set. Let's see. If you want to look for specific service, you can that as well. So that's one type of resource that you have to create and build your classroom. Classrooms and credits. So if you're in a situation where you're wanting to utilize and you're wanting to create those templates, as I mentioned before, I usually do it like this. There's multiple ways you can do it, but this is usually my process. I go to request an AWS Educate classroom and I select classroom template. Like I said, there could be a maximum of 3. And I select the ones I want. So I do build scalable websites, serverless computing, and AWS Cloud Basics. Okay, so I said earlier, there's a starter account template. And it does say if don't select any other ones, if you're selecting this one. It just depends on your experience, your comfort level. If you're brand new to this and you're trying to figure it out, just start with a starter account template. And then you would go click next. And you would enter the course name and the course number and the description and so on and so forth for your classes, like the start date and the end date. You can also request the credit amount requested per student. So as I mentioned earlier, the actual AWS, the console, not through AWS Educate, it does require a credit card. Now there's free services and non-free services, depending on the services that you're utilizing. But what you can do here is you'll get access, you can give your students $50 in credit, access to build and to create whatever it is that they're going to be building and creating. And $50 is will go a long way. One of the advantages of utilizing AWS is the fact that the lower cost and increased scalability and the way that you can customize the costs and everything that you need. So what's nice about students and educators learning about AWS Educate at this particular level, they don't accidentally run up a bill because of their inexperience. Talk about myself on that one. But, we live and learn. So then you would put your estimated enrollment, and then you would click next, and I have to do this. Let's see. So this is something I need to make sure I have. Web 101. Oh, let's do something. I want to make something up. Intro to web. Web 101. Web demo. Start date. So you can see it's pretty easy. You just, put the dates in here, and I'm just going to do it for one day. I can put $50. Actually, I'm going to put $0 because I don't need any credit. Or I want to put $5 because I don't need any credit. But you can put $50, and they will actually allow for more than that if it becomes necessary. They might need a reason for it, but again, $50 will go a long way. So I would recommend just sticking with the $50. Estimated enrollment, put 1. Then you hit next. And then you start next is by downloading an email address upload template. And I've downloaded this several times now on my computer, so you'll see it has a number right next to it. But let's see. And it's an Excel file. It's a CSV file. So it looks like I'm on number 7, or technically probably 8. But yeah. Okay. So all it is, it doesn't need to require a lot of content. All it is, you need an email. You just need the email for your students. So after, let me go ahead and do something. Hit enable editing, just so I can go through the process. Maiden name and an old Hotmail account. Okay, so I got it. Save it. Choose file. Then I'm going to look at my downloads, email upload template, open, and it goes in, and then you hit submit. Okay. And you can see I've gotten several classrooms. It's from various tutorials and classes that I've created for teaching. Okay, so that's where we were at. We went to request or go to an AWS Educate classroom. So if you've already created the classroom, it's up here and go to classrooms. Okay. So professional development. So there's some great professional development opportunities out there. And this is actually where you will find the badges as well. So there's student badges, which are, I believe, for the college level. Yes, okay. So these are some of the badges that I mentioned earlier that were aimed for college, and there's actually more than I had on the slide. You can see there's also gaming and IoT, and things of that nature. I actually, one of the JavaScript class that we just had done having here at Hawking, their final project was earning the Alexa badge, which required them to create an Alexa skill. And the reason for that was because it utilizes JSON and JavaScript functions, and it was just a way to cement everything into something that is fun. Some didn't like it, but now they know they don't like it. But it was just a way for them to utilize the skills that they're learned in the class for that semester in an Alexa badge. I actually did have one college student. I didn't realize he was not 18 yet. He's only 17. And he kept saying he couldn't find it and he couldn't access it. It's like, I don't know why you can't find it. Because we were doing this whole remote learning thing. It's like, I don't know why you can't find it. Show me what you're not seeing. And then he said that he did a little bit of research on it, because I didn't even think of the age thing, because he's a college student. And he told me he was only 17 and he read something that it was not available to people under 18. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't know you were 17. So I told him to do the Sumerian badge instead. It didn't have as much JSON, but it has some JavaScript and event listeners. And he actually said doing this, it gave him a better idea of what JavaScript does and event listeners and some other things that they had. And he really enjoyed it. So, which is great. I mean, that's what we want to hear as educators, that they're actually learning and creating something as opposed to just going through the steps and the motions. Okay. So let's do the AWS Deep Racer. So this is what it looks like. It's on Canvas, the LMS right now. I don't think that's changing. So on the left-hand side, you'll see modules. And you can, this one looks like one module with feedback and learn more. And the Deep Racer workshop. And on the left-hand side, there's a menu and where you can go through the components of learning.
We'll be talking about machine learning.
About AWS Deep Racer. I'm not going to go through this. But once you finish it, and then, we click next, it's pretty self-explanatory, and so on and so forth. And let's see. I think on somewhere, it says that these usually take 10 to 15 hours. Okay. So like I did for my students with the Alexa and Sumerian, this could be a particular project for machine learning or AI or reinforcement learning, depending on whatever it is that you're teaching in your classes. Okay, and let's go back in here. And it's similar for all the classes there. Let's see, professional development. Oh, yeah, let's go back to professional development. So K through 12 student badges. And it says educator minor badges, meaning like you're under 18. Now, one of these, I can't recall which one, is available to students who are in college. But if you're teaching K through 12, this is the area you want to focus on for these particular badges. You can do Cloud Explorer, Cloud Inventor, excuse me, Cloud Builder. There's a variety of different things that you can play with and have the students, focus on and learn based off whatever their interests are or whatever it is that you're teaching in class. So there's like two benefits to this utilizing AWS Educate. For one, it's your classroom, some resources for your classroom that are current and relevant and easy enough to incorporate. And then the other benefit is like you're encouraging your students to explore. I tell students, whether I'm visiting high schools or my students, is you got to find what interests you. You got to find your spark, because it is so much easier and better whenever you're learning something that you have a strong interest in. It's so much easier to continue to go beyond what's in the classroom. And those are the people who are going to succeed, are those who go beyond just the bare minimum. You can get an A in a class, but if you really want to learn something, you have to take that deeper dive into it. Find something that you really enjoy and take that deeper dive. You don't have to wait for me to assign it. You can take that deeper dive yourself. Okay. So let's see. There's some other resources on there, but we're not going to get into. But the badges are the things that I think are one of the things I find the most valuable on this, because it addresses both the intrinsic and extrinsic motivated students that you have in your classroom. So that's pretty much it on the demo. Again, my interface looks a little bit different than yours will or does if you already have an AWS Educate account. But if you don't have an AWS Educate account and you're looking to get started, I usually just Google AWS Educate, and this is the website that you're going to go to. So what you would do here, it gives you some more explanation on what AWS Educate is. You would click Join AWS Educate, and then you would follow through the process, creating your account. Let's see what else. Okay, so that was our demo, and I'm going to leave it with this video. I'll close out those tabs.
Welcome to AWS Educate's Cloud Career Pathway. AWS Educate helps you create a pathway into innovative and lucrative opportunities in the rapidly expanding cloud industry. On AWS Educate, you will discover the skills necessary to advance into cloud careers, explore content, test your knowledge, seek micro-credentials as badges and certificates of completion, and even have the opportunity to apply for jobs and internships in the cloud. Start off by building your profile, adding your resume, classes, degrees attained, and other facets of your experience. Then, select a cloud career field. From there, we'll personalize your plan by providing content that matches your pathway. As you consume that content, we'll prompt you to take knowledge checks of 3 to 5 questions in order to gauge your comprehension. After you've completed 50% of the knowledge checks, you'll have a chance to earn an AWS Educate badge. Then, uplevel your profile by completing a project and a final assessment, and you can receive an AWS Educate certificate of completion. Take applicable courses at your school or online to grow your knowledge and fill gaps in your skill set. All of these achievements can be added into your portfolio. Then put it all together. Apply for a job or internship at Amazon or at one of our customers or partners through the AWS Educate job board. Download your portfolio and send it to your potential employer to get your ideal job in the cloud. So what are you waiting for? Start your career pathway today.
And what I liked about that video is like it showed you from beginning to end, the pathway. And the end isn't necessarily the end, as we all know. It's like, your end only happens whenever you let it happen. And as you continue to grow in a field that's constantly changing, and you're motivated, and you're curious about it, you're curious about what you can do next. AWS and AWS Educate is an awesome platform for doing just that. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. Thank you.